quiet heart of a working-class neighborhood where every house looked the same and every passerby blended into the next. No one noticed the one small detail that should have made them stop. The windows of the old gray house on Merrow Lane were always covered day, night, summer, winter, as if the walls themselves were hiding from the world. People walked by countless times, never imagining that behind those sealed panes and silent doors lived a nightmare that would stretch on for years. A nightmare born from one man's hunger for control and his belief that he could bury the truth forever. This is the story of Daniel Varez, a man whose smiling charm concealed the rotting core of a life built on cruelty, lies, and captivity, in the story of the three young women who vanished from the streets and somehow found themselves locked inside a house where time stopped, hope flickered, and choices became left. But before any of that, before the world learned what he'd done, there was a day when Daniel stood in his dim kitchen, his breath ragged, staring at the heavy iron padlock he had just fastened to a basement door. His hands trembled not from guilt, not yet. Because guilt was a stranger he had spent years training himself not to feel, but from an excitement that twisted itself into something darker, something poisonous, something he believed made him powerful. And in that moment, with the click of cold metal sealing a life away, Daniel Varez crossed the line from troubled man to architect of a hidden hell. It began with Ella Marin, a 17-year-old high school senior who dreamed of becoming a photographer. She disappeared on a warm spring afternoon after telling her friend she was walking home. Police searched the park, the side streets, the riverbank, but nothing surfaced, not a footprint, not a witness, not a trace. Daniel, meanwhile, walked through town with a calmness that looked like kindness, driving his broken-down delivery van, waving to neighbors, fixing minor things for elderly residents who adored him. No one knew he had stopped Ella that afternoon, offering a ride after convincing her that he knew her uncle. No one knew that the van door had slammed shut with the force of fate itself. And no one knew that inside his house, the lock on the basement door now had a purpose. Ella's world was swallowed in a single moment, and the light inside her eyes dimmed into a silent question that would haunt her for years. Why me? Months later came Lena, 19, outspoken, hopeful, and impatient to carve a future bigger than her small town. She vanished after leaving her part-time shift at a local cafe. And once again, no clues surfaced. Daniel had watched her, followed her, studied her routine with a cold, obsessive patience that could have passed as shyness to anyone who didn't look twice. And when he trapped her inside the same walls where Ella already lived, shaking and terrified, he convinced himself that he hadn't stolen their futures, he had given himself a purpose. The house, once ordinary, now pulsed with secrets. Locks were reinforced. Windows were bolted tight. Soundproofing crept along the basement walls. Every inch of Daniel's life became a stage for his two identities. The caring neighbor outside, the captor within. The third was Maradine, 23, who had survived a difficult childhood only to be swallowed by a fate she never imagined. Daniel had grown bolder by then, more certain that he was invisible, untouchable, and above suspicion. When Mara vanished, the entire town mourned. Candlelight vigils were held. Posters hung from every lamppost. But Daniel lived just blocks away, walking by those posters as if they meant nothing, eating dinners he didn't deserve, sleeping in a bed he hadn't earned, while his victims lived in fear beneath the same roof. He controlled every minute of their lives, every breath they took, every hope they tried to hold on to. Days became weeks, weeks became months, months dissolved into years, and through it all, Daniel convinced himself that things were normal. He believed he was not a monster, merely a man with needs, living a life he believed no one had the right to judge. But inside the house, the women changed. They learned the rhythm of Daniel's footsteps, the tone of his moods, the tiny cracks in his routines. Ella became quiet, calculating, observing. Lena became resilient, pushing back in small ways that Daniel never noticed. Mara became the strength the others leaned on, her courage a fire that refused to die. And as the years dragged on, they found an ally in something Daniel never expected. Time. Time wore him down, made him careless, frayed the edges of his carefully constructed lies. And eventually, the cracks he ignored became the cracks that doomed him. It was a hot afternoon in midsummer when the house shifted. Daniel, half asleep, stumbled out the front door to run a quick errand, forgetting just once to locked the inner security bar. Mara heard the faint metallic rattle from inside the hallway. She froze, her heart pounding like thunder in her chest. Ella and Lena stared at her, each of them understanding instantly that this was the chance they had been waiting for, the moment that would decide whether they lived or died. Mara's hands trembled as she pushed the door. It moved, not much. Not enough to guarantee freedom, but enough to ignite a flame of impossible hope. She screamed for help. The first scream she had allowed herself in years, and a neighbor heard her. People rushed toward the house. Police arrived. Daniel returned minutes too late, watching his entire empire of secrets crumble before his eyes. When the officers pried open the door and stepped inside, they found a world that should never have existed. Rooms with blacked-out windows, heavy locks on every door, ropes, chains, remnants of years stolen. And in the center of it all were the three women shaking, exhausted, thin, but alive. Their faces carried the weight of their trauma, but also the spark of something even stronger: survival. As Daniel was dragged away in handcuffs, he finally faced the truth he had spent years running from. The house he built to hide his sins had become the witness that destroyed him, and the women he had tried to silence had found the strength to speak louder than he ever imagined. In the courtroom, the world learned what the house on Mirror Lane truly was. Prosecutors revealed the torment, the manipulation, the cruelty. The community that once trusted Daniel now stared at him with disbelief, rage, horror, but none of it compared to the quiet power of Ella, Lena, and Mara standing together, refusing to be victims anymore. Their testimony shattered every illusion Daniel had built around himself. For the first time, he saw his actions not through the lens of control, but through the raw, undeniable truth of the suffering he had caused. And yet, even in front of the world, even as the sentence fell like a hammer sealing his fate, he searched the room for some scrap of sympathy. There was none. Daniel spent the last years of his life locked in a cell smaller than the basement he used to imprison others. The same isolation he inflicted now became his companion, and slowly, painfully, he was forced to confront the truth. He had destroyed lives, and in doing so, he had destroyed himself. His name became a curse in the town he once walked through with a smile. His house was demolished. His legacy existed only as a warning etched into the memories of all who heard the story. Evil hides behind ordinary doors, and sometimes the kindest face conceals the darkest intentions. But the story belongs not to Daniel, but to the women who lived, fought, and emerged from the shadows he trapped them in. After years of captivity, they rebuilt their lives piece by piece. They learned to love sunlight again, to trust again, to breathe without fear. Their strength became a symbol of resilience, a testament to the human spirit's ability to rise, even from the darkest corners of suffering. And though their scars will never fully fade, they became beacons of survival, reminders that hope can survive even in the deepest silence. Sometimes, one wrong choice can destroy a lifetime. Learn from their story. Choose kindness. Choose life. This was just the beginning. The most mysterious and shocking crime stories are still ahead. Subscribe to Crime Flow Narratives and be among the first to uncover what comes next.